Hi, I'm Jody, the mom.
And I'm Dr. Bar the doc, and this is Mom and Doc Talks, where we talk all things healing pans and pandas with a special emphasis on homeopathy. And today is our celebration. We are at our 18th episode, which is not a whole lot, but that's kind of a lot at the same time because we took us 18 episodes to talk about the healing journey. Like our goal was to do relatively bite-sized pieces, small little bits about the insights into like what it takes from recognizing what pans and pandas is, getting a diagnosis, navigating all of the different options for healthcare, and doing so with the framework of Jody and Avery's healing story. And the reason we're so excited, even though 18 is a random number, it just happened to be how long it took us to get here. Our 18th episode is our celebration because this is where we get to talk about the fact that Avery is healed. And I'm going to steal a little bit of the spotlight here too and talk about the fact that I am healed and that this is not something that I have to worry about anymore. And I thought it was going to have to worry about it for my entire life. And it's worth its own episode because what we want to talk about today is not just a celebration. We want to talk about what actually being healed looks like for a kid with pans and pandas. And we want to talk about homeopathy's role in that. And we want to talk about what homeopathy is like after pans and pandas for those who continue to use it and just what life is like in general. So Jody, I want to start with you, but at the same time, I think I'm gonna shift back to me and I'm going to say what when we know healing has occurred. Okay, what I'm looking at for a definition of somebody being healed. So it's not just that we have symptoms under control. And so if you talk to some other pans panda specialists, they will talk about, having pans being, in remission, but what that means is that like by taking this cocktail of medications and supplements, that things are under control for now. And that's not what we're talking about with healing pans with homeopathy. We're talking about not regularly taking any of those things. I mean, maybe you might still need a multivitamin and mineral, maybe some fish oil, something like that. If like you're not getting all of the things that you need from your diet, but just the basics that any human would likely need to supplement their diet. Not something that's actually trying to prevent symptoms, just like sustaining health is what we're looking at. So we're looking at no bucketfuls of supplements, no recurring tests to check on blood levels for different medications, no frequent visits to the pharmacy to refill our antibiotic prescription, no anti-inflammatories. So no regular supplements that need to be taken, no regular homeopathic remedy that needs to be taken. We're talking as needed at best, and as needed being not every 3 days, but as needed being like every couple of weeks, every couple of months, just occasionally here and there if something pops up needing to take a dose of the remedy, or not needing to take it at all. And so not just that, but we also need to have known exposures to triggers. Which could be illnesses, it could be colds and flus, it could be strep, it could be mycoplasma, it could be mold, it could be houses with lots of fragrances or solvents or other things that would normally trigger a flare of symptoms. To have exposure to those things and not have a flare, and ideally not even need to take a dose of the remedy, but the body is resilient enough, the name of our business, Resilience Naturopathic, there's a reason for it, that the body is resilient enough that it can bounce back on its own without needing an outside nudge. That's what healing looks like. That's what a healed, healthy person is, that they can have things happen. They can have exposures to illnesses, exposures to toxic chemicals, toxic substances, and our innate detox mechanisms, our innate immune system, all of the things that we build up and that we can do on our own, they kick into action on their own without an outside stimulus, outside force, outside support, and restore that place of homeostasis. It doesn't mean that they're never going to get sick. It doesn't mean they're not going to have bad days or good days. We'll still, like, we're all humans. We have ups and downs. It's that we can bounce back on our own without an outside force, and have a known trigger and not have panda symptoms, only have at best, or not at best, at worst, have at worst, a typical immune response. Those things. So that's what we're talking about healing being. And that's absolutely possible with homeopathy. And we're going to talk to you what that's like. Jody, when my first time that I knew Avery was like good, and I knew that we were there, what was your first sign?
Well, I remember strep. Like, I think that was one of her first illnesses, and I was sure, like, here we go again, and nothing.
Yeah.
She was totally fine through it. Was it the same thing for you?
It was when she got strep, because it wasn't just she had exposure to strep, because there was one time before she actually got strep. There was a
Uh-huh.
time that she had exposure to strep in class and she didn't get it. And we're like, okay, that's a very good sign, but I'm not for sure yet, because it could have just been that, she got really lucky this time. But it was when she got actual strep and she had a sore throat, she had a
Mhm.
little bit of a fever,
Mhm.
and she recovered without any pan symptoms at all.
Yeah. And
That's
then not too long after that, she had the flu,
Mhm.
right? Like 2 or 3
Yep.
months later, she had the flu and did totally fine through that. And then it was so crazy because it was like a 6 or 8 month period where things kept happening, and I'm like sitting there waiting for it. And like, sometimes she would come home and I would see like, or I would hear sniffly nose and like a little bit of a cough, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And by the next morning she would wake up and be totally fine, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I just saw her immune system do its thing. Like, it just fought off whatever that was.
Mhm.
And it just it just kept going. Like, all of a sudden I was like, holy cow, we've been through like 3 full moons with nothing at all, which was huge to me,
Mhm.
because full moons were a kicker. What else was
Mold.
there? There was
There's mold.
yes, we had a mold thing probably a year and a half ago, where she did fantastic. The rest of us were like crummy, awful, because we weren't as far into the healing journey. And she did well through it, surprisingly well for, it being toxic mold. She can
Even
go to
before,
go
I was gonna
ahead.
say, even before you had your own
Yeah.
like recurrence in your house, like I remember you telling me, I I can only tell that we're in a moldy place because of how I feel now, not because of how my
Yeah.
girls feel.
Yeah, the one place that I 100% sure I know is moldy is a store in the town that I grew up in, and every time I go there, I get super sick. And Avery used to like get batty every time we would go in there, or she would start ticking, like the ticks would go crazy or whatever it was. She'd get angry, and we had gone in there a couple times, and she was totally fine. We were going to the pool and she wasn't having like wild and crazy reactions. And then I got to the point where I was brave enough to start testing some of her foods that she was allergic to. And the very first time was a birthday party, and blue dye was one thing that used to make her crazy. And they had a cake that was like pure blue. Like, every kid that had a piece just had Smurf blue mouth afterwards. And she ate a piece. She had a little thing of ice cream, and I don't remember what else it was. Oh, it was pizza. They had pizza, and she had all of those things, and she was totally fine. She had zero response whatsoever. And then the food stuff just kept growing and growing, and it got to, now she can eat all the gluten and dairy that she wants to, and she's okay now. um all of those things though, and it wasn't just like those things either. It was I always say that I feel like I had my pre-panda or my pre-pans Avery, and then I had my pans Avery, and then now I have my after homeopathy Avery. And I don't even know how to explain. Homeopathy didn't make her a better kid. She's an amazing kid, but it just she's just different now. Or you know what? She feels good. She's in a happy, healthy body, or she's in a healthy body, which allows her to just like relax and be a kid and be happy and joyful. And even, we've moved through a lot of things since she's been well. I mean, she's been really, really fairly good for the last 3 years. A lot of life has happened. I know one of the things that a lot of Pan's families are concerned about is, moving through puberty.
Mhm.
And that's all been fantastic so far. And something that now we use homeopathy to help with, the usual preteen moodiness and that type stuff. She just gets to enjoy her life and be a kid and have all of these things, like experience illnesses like a normal kid would, and without doing the methylfolate I thought we would be married to forever. Her body detox is fine all by itself. We do nothing now. And that the issues she had with MTHFR not being able to detox, that has been switched off, and her body's just doing it itself without extra from us. It's just all working like it's supposed to.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not as observant because I'm not a mom trying to fix a kid. I'm a person who went through it. And so I almost always see things in retrospect and realize, oh, that hasn't happened for a while. So I don't have as many clear signs for when I knew I was healed. It just sort of happened where I would look back and I'd say, oh, I haven't had anything come up, and I haven't needed to call my doctor. I haven't had, any issues for quite some time. And for me, my like mile marker is when I met my husband, because I met him basically somewhere after the healing had happened. And I say that because we have now been together for oh my gosh, 9.5 years, and he has never seen me have an episode. That's not to say he hasn't seen me have ups and downs, and we'll talk about what life after healing with homeopathy looks like, and homeopathy's role both this whole thing has been about, the last several episodes have been about homeopathy's role and getting to this place within homeopathy's role after as well. But for me, it was that recognition that like he's never seen a true episode. He's never seen anything like that. And so I foolishly feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to have that hard conversation with him about my issues that I had early in our relationship, because they never ended up coming to fruition. And so life now is easier to navigate. I can see all of the times that, I still see a psychiatrist regularly because I'm a disabled veteran, and it's just better and honest. And I'm a realistic person that, like, as much as I can say that I know that I'm good and I'm healed, I also know that like I might not be able to see if I needed support in another place. And so I have somebody that I check in with at least twice a year to just, here's what's going on in my life. Am I missing anything? Because again, not the most observant when it comes to myself. I'm really good at taking care of other people. And so there have been multiple times where he wanted to see me more frequently because he knew that something was going on in my life that he expected that he was going to want to put me on meds for, and that like I was going to get to a place that was bad enough that I would acquiesce and take the medications that he wanted to give me again. And it's never happened. And he has been shocked, including pregnancy. Like he thought for sure that pregnancy and new motherhood and all of that was going to create a situation that I would have like a significant setback. And I shocked the heck out of him because that didn't happen. I did have like 3 days of baby blues, and homeopathy got that back under control and was great. That was the closest I have come to having anything. And like I said, homeopathy took care of it. So life after PANS, and or likely PANS is pretty good. It's pretty good. As somebody who dealt with it, it was an adjustment. And I will say this to any of you, especially if you're dealing with a teen or an older, like a young adult who's dealing with this, that you're helping navigate to recovery. It was hard at first because I was used to the chaos of PANS. And so the normal, like just steady, easy, like pretty stable felt really hard. And so I did have some struggles as I was having more and more of that stable, of like not knowing how to navigate life as a stable person. And so I just want to give you a heads up that is something that might come up that you need to work through with, especially an older kid or a young adult. And it's still possible. Like homeopathy helped with that, and just a little bit more time and self-reflection and finding my bigger reasons for wanting to maintain stability.
Yeah. I think it happens with moms too, right? I feel like that thing happened with me when Avery was through healing, and it was like, okay, what now? Like, what I don't even know what to do with myself. And that's why, like, you say that you're going to steal part of the show, but I cannot talk about Avery's healing without talking about the rest of our family. And what we've experienced with homeopathy, because like that was my time right there whenever I realized that I needed to go through my own healing, because I was like, what now? Like, like Pan swallowed me whole. Hey, who am I? What am I? And all this like dump truck load of post-traumatic stress that I've been tucking away is still with me, even though life isn't like that anymore. And I cannot even, like, I don't even have words big enough for what our life after Pans is like. Avery's absolutely flourishing. She's just a happy kid. She's she doesn't have to worry about all of the things. She has this fantastic personality. She is able to interact with friends, and her life is so different than what it was whenever she was going through Pans. My whole family, my younger daughter has done phenomenal with homeopathy, still healing, but just her entire life has been changed by homeopathy. Her quality of life went from just awful, awful in a different sense than Pans, but just literally awful, to her living a normal life and just being a kid. My husband and I both, I feel like my healing is like I'm healing, I feel better. But my husband, holy cow, his healing has been, his improvement has been just profound. It has changed our family so incredibly much. I feel like if the Billy and I now, with how we are in our own healing, if we would have been the people that were navigating Pans when it happened, we would have been so much better equipped to be able to handle what we were going through, the stress and the trauma, and the like our responses to things now. The way we parent is so different. The way that we understand our own ability to love and accept and nurture and all of those things. It's like it took all of the parts of us that were kind of broken up and helped us move through it and process it and kind of come back together. And it's like him and I are more whole, and we're able to parent together better. Our marriage, Pans destroyed, like absolutely tore our marriage apart. And I feel like homeopathy has very slowly like put it back together. First by giving us the time and the energy, Pans free, to be able to like focus on us and our marriage, and has given us the gift of communication and being vulnerable with each other, and so many amazing things. And I say all of this, like I give homeopathy 99% of the credit. Maybe that's extra, but I really honestly feel like, and it's really hard for me to say this because I know that there's so many families that are still suffering, but there are so many blessings in the suffering that we went through. We are all better humans. We are a better family unit because of everything that we went through. Like homeopathy is just helping us work through all of it. But there is there were so many lessons. There were so many, who we are now, each of us as individuals. We are better people for everything that we went through. And it's like homeopathy was like the icing on the cake, just smoothing all of that over and making it sweeter. And life after PANS is, I feel like we live in a dream, like literally every day. I'm like, is this real? Like, this is so, I just have such a different appreciation for things. And again, I know that was partially homeopathy helping me get to the place where I could enjoy and relax and see how good things are now. I just couldn't have imagined that it would, like, life would be so sweet.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's sweeter and it's easier and it's still life. Like, we still have stuff. We still deal with the same stuff other families deal with. But the way we react and respond, all of us, the way we react and respond to everyday stress, to things that come up in life, it's just different. We move through things easier and we move through it together. And maybe that's the biggest thing, is through all of this, we have become this like unit, that I don't even know how to explain it. I'm trying to say words that are not coming out. It's just beautiful. Life is amazing now.
There's one thing that just popped into my mind that we haven't really mentioned, I think, enough, that is going to be important to a lot of parents to hear. And that's related to like the cognitive regression that people experience with PANS and PANDAS. And one of the ways when we talk about like knowing that we are actually healed, that we failed to mention that Avery, an early sign, was not there, but I was like, we are on our way. Avery, who had been, when we first got working together, was on a 504 and like being evaluated for whether she needed to be in like special needs or special education classes. And then when you told me, oh yeah, she's being tested for gifted and talented now. And I was like, wait, what? That was, to me, that was like one of our first early signs that I was like, we are definitely headed in the right direction. And now she's just thriving and she's like the little smarty pants.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, super, like straight A student. Amazing. And I feel like there's like lots of little things, and I know we'll go back in future episodes and pick up on all the little pieces, but like literally going from like, oh my gosh, we're almost 2 years behind in math, and then saying that, and then 6 months later being like, wait a minute, she's totally caught up.
Yeah.
Like she is like testing, like getting A's on tests that like other students in her class are now currently working on. Like, she's 100% good now, and catching up on all of that stuff that she missed. Yeah, there's like a million different things that are like, I feel like that's what I feel like, right? Like those little moments where I keep realizing, holy cow, this is really good, or this is amazing. It like never stops. I feel like that happens there's like something to celebrate every single day. The smallest day, the other day, with the picture of the funnel cake, and Avery just being able to go to Fiesta, Texas with her friend and sending a picture of a funnel cake. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's never had funnel cake before, because since she's been healed, we just never been anywhere that had funnel cake, but she was never able to eat it. And so now she can send me a picture of something, and I don't freak out because I'm not worried about allergies. And she can eat a funnel cake with whipped cream and sprinkles on top, and we just don't have to worry about all the things that we used to worry about.
Yeah. So for me, the thing that really is the clincher is that, like I said, my husband's never seen me have an episode, flare, regression, etc. And I have a little girl that wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't healed with homeopathy, both because I don't know that I would have been stable enough to find and maintain a healthy relationship, but also because the medications that I was taking in order to potentially make that possible were contraindicated in pregnancy. And I was able to naturally conceive and give birth to a beautiful little girl. And so every single night when I put her to bed and she's 2.5, but she's decided she wants to be rocked again a little bit before she goes to bed. And I get those like few minutes of like hugs and snuggles and rocking her before she crawls into her bed. And that's my daily reminder of just how far I've come and what was possible that I didn't think was ever going to be possible, thanks to homeopathy. And I know that we both have reached a point. A lot of families with PANS, you know, they want to know, is this something you have to use forever? And it's not. You do not have to use homeopathy forever. You can reach a point where you can just walk away from PANS and you can walk away from homeopathy. It takes some time and takes some patience, as we talked about in great detail in previous episodes. So if you have not checked those out, please go check those out so you can really understand what the healing trajectory and patterns tend to be and the ups and downs that come with it. But most people, once they reach that point, they've had enough other things that come up. They've had acute illnesses and acute like stressors in life that they recognize that homeopathy can help. So like you said, Jody, like you still have daily things that happen in life. I still have daily things that come up and cause me stress or cause me, you know, I get sick or, you know, whatever it happens to be. And I still use homeopathy. So a lot of people will, you know, they're not seeing their homeopath and having like regular monthly follow-ups or anything like that, but they got them still on their like favorites list so they can call them as soon as they've got something that is a little bit more like, maybe you're having a little bit more stress or having a hard time, like this normal thing that would happen in life, but you're having a little bit more challenge bouncing out of it than works for you, or you're holding on to something longer than other people are, or, you know, whatever. That homeopathy can help with like just those like daily little like day-to-day life type of little setbacks. And so that's where I'm still using it for when I have stress that I'm having a hard time managing, or I'm like realize that I'm overreacting to some typical stressor that anybody in my circle would be stressed out related to, or I'm having like my own way of having a stress, you know, or you know, I have migraines that homeopathy has unfortunately not helped yet, but I'm confident I'm sticking with it and it's going to help get that under control. And you know, I mentioned in a previous episode that I've using homeopathy for some pain right now. It's sciatic pain. It's something that comes and goes, and it's going to help me so that this can be less of a problem, especially as I'm getting older and still have a young child that I need to be able to keep up with. So homeopathy still plays a role in my life, out for my own healing and my own health, to help me be as resilient as I possibly can and to address susceptibility to other things in life, you know. And in my family, this is just, you know, an N of 3, but I will tell you that 2 of the 3 of us, me and my daughter, regularly use homeopathy when we need to. My husband, he's still working on his own stuff, and he has not had he doesn't use homeopathy as regularly or as frequently, and doesn't have as robust a response as my daughter or I do. When COVID hit our family, my daughter was sick she had symptoms for 6 hours. I had symptoms for 12. My husband had symptoms for 5, and like for us, it was really mild. And for him, it was not so mild. And I know that that's only an N of 3 from my personal experience, but we're seeing that routinely through our Facebook group, through the clients that we work with, that we're hearing the family members, when COVID hits the family members who have been using homeopathy have the easiest time recovering, and the people who aren't have the hardest cases. And that's generally true in life, that when I'm using homeopathy and I have a stressor come up, I can make a quick adjustment and bounce back really quickly and much faster than anybody else does, even if they're also getting started with homeopathy, because my susceptibility has already been so addressed that just a small tweak and I'm back on track and feeling good again. So it doesn't make me superhuman. It doesn't make me impermeable to stress and illness or anything like that. I am human. It just makes it so that I've got this tool in my pocket that I can get through it easier and quicker than I would be able to otherwise.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with a mom the other day, and I was talking about like Avery and just her like preteen, moody, like normal, typical preteen behavior. And I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't had an appointment it's been a long time. And I was like, why don't I have an appointment? I bet homeopathy could totally help with this like moodiness that I know is normal, but I also know a homeopathy, so it can likely help a little bit with it too. So it's just nice having, knowing it's there for all of the things going through, and like the future things that we'll go through is, I mean, there's so many things that I now understand that homeopathy can help you through, moving through grief, moving through, I mean, and even like hard stuff, like the way kids interact with each other, like is those things happen in Avery's life, that we have homeopathy, and also, yes, like for illnesses, it is so comforting to me. Like I've told moms before, what happens when this happens? What happens when that happens? And I'm like, we're good. We got homeopathy. We're fine. We'll be just fine. Like there's pretty much nothing I feel like we can't move through without homeopathy.
Well, we hope that this was useful in helping you walk through what a trajectory from onset to healing and thriving can look like. Especially, as I said at the beginning, Jody and I came together because her experience was one of the harder experiences where nothing worked, and if anything could go wrong, it did in your case. And so we're hoping that this was a very beneficial series to work through. Moving forward, we're just going to have topics that are relevant to healing pans and pandas. We're going to talk about things related to homeopathy, some more specifics and details about it. We're going to talk about mold. We're going to talk about Lyme. We're going to talk about impacts on families. We're going to talk about all of the things. So we would love to hear from you. If you are a member of our Facebook group, that's a great place to get in touch with us. You can shoot us an email. And we'll put that in the show notes with the email to use for anything that you would love to hear us talk about and address in this podcast and these videos. So hopefully you will find some great resources in the upcoming, well, between what we've already shared, but in the upcoming episodes as well. And that's going to include guest hosts, and we'll find people. If we don't have the answers, we will find people to get the answers for you. So we'll look forward to seeing you in future episodes, and we're gonna wrap up this journey with Jody and Avery here, but we'll be back and always, of course, pulling from our personal experiences as we're talking about things moving forward. So we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye, guys.